This time on Auto Anatomy, the flooded Corvair is back and better than ever. Kind of. Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Anatomy. My name is Sean. Thank you so much for joining us. As you saw by the end of this video, we are going to get the flooded Corvair back on the road again. We've got an awful lot to do, so I appreciate you joining along with me. As you can see, I've already started to strip some of the paint out of the interior and from under the hood because we're going to paint this entire thing body color. So the Canadian cars apparently had all of this painted body color, but the American cars decided to paint it black under the hood. In my mind, it looks a lot prettier with it being body color, so we're going to do that. And besides, this car is ruined already, so why not ruin it just a little bit more? So before we can assemble the engine and transmission and differential, put all of those things together that we've done in previous videos, let's get to work finishing stripping up the paint. I know it's going to be a shock to everybody here, but we've got more rust in the flooded Corvair. So we're going to be cutting that out and then hopefully get the engine compartment in primer paint and then put the engine back in it. So if you like seeing classic cars get brought back to life, and especially Corvairs, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's an absolutely free way to help support our channel. If you do want to help support us monetarily, we do have channel memberships available for as little as 99 cents a month. And for that, you get exclusive behind the scenes content and early access to videos. It's just one more way that you can help ensure that we keep bringing classics back to life. Previously, we had cut out all of this rust on this side and raised the floor over there to make room for a muffler. On the driver's side, guess what? We have more rust. I know it's shocking, but under the battery tray, it's also rusted out. So I'm kind of torn here, and let me know what you would do. There's a part of me that wants to just replace it as it is. There's another part of me that wants to cut it out and then relocate the battery up to the trunk. It'd be better for weight distribution and help clean up the back a little bit. So drop a comment below and let me know what you would do. In the meantime, I've got to do more paint stripping. There is a ton of like undercoating, rubber, just junk that is on both sides up here. I've started scraping it a little bit, but this thing was full of like 3/4 to an inch thick of just rubber, and most of it was falling out, so it wasn't doing much anyway. Seems like a good opportunity to replace it with some seam sealer and good sound deadening. So I had a thought, and I ran it by my bad influences, and they'll know who I'm talking about. And my thought was, you know, while I've got it here, and this is probably the only opportunity I'm going to have for this, is there any benefit to stitch welding up some of these seams here? And, you know, some of it doesn't make sense, but like around the shock mounts and things that are structural, I'm kind of thinking that, you know, maybe it makes sense that we go ahead and just weld up some of these pieces, because they are honestly, they're just plug welded and spot welded together. So I may break out the welder and do a little bit of just reinforcing while I've got it here. Well, now that I've got all the rust knocked out of the battery tray, I need to finish getting all of the rest of the engine compartment stripped so that we can get it in primer and then ultimately paint, and then hopefully put the engine in it soon. Well, this is what grinding under the hood of a 60-year-old car looks like when you're done. I am absolutely covered in rubber, paint, who knows what else, but the inside of the car is all done. As you can see, I have got the paint stripped off of basically everywhere under the hood here. Now I'm gonna go push it outside, see if I can rinse some of this stuff off, dry it, and then hopefully get ready for paint. Well, I've got the car all cleaned, dried, ready for paint. Let's get this thing in primer. Well, this one's not as exciting. It's just a clear glass marble, but I'll add it to the collection. All right, the entire under hood is in primer now. We're gonna give this a little bit of time to dry, and then we'll knock out some imperfections, give it a quick sand, and then I think it's time we put on some color. Well, the car is all painted, clear coated, and rolled back inside. Now I've got to wait for, a few days for this to all dry up so that I can actually start working with it. In the meantime, why don't we go ahead and assemble the engine, the transmission, the differential into one unit, get it ready to put in this beautiful new mist blue engine bay. I hope I'm not making a mistake here by assembling all this on the bench. Hopefully I can get it off the bench at some point. So for the clutch assembly, I reached out to fellow Corvair enthusiast Ken Hand and asked what he would recommend. And he hooked me up with a machined pressure plate flywheel that's all been balanced with a new carbon Kevlar disc. Let's go ahead and throw it in, and hopefully this one will be way better than what we took out of the car. Usually this goes together a little bit easier, I guess, with all new parts. Mating tolerances are a little tight. Well, I've been sitting here fighting this thing and realized I still have 2 bolts in the case down here to hold the stand on, and that's why it wasn't going all the way in. So let me pull those 2 bolts out and get the diff stand off, and then it will probably just slide right in. Okay, let's try this again without shooting ourselves in the feet. There we go. So it may not be necessary, but one of my buddies said, make sure that you safety wire these. So I'm going to safety wire them. It's done. And if nothing else, it looks cool. I ended up redoing this side just because it was a little looser than I wanted. I'm happier with this. Let me get on doing the other side. Well, the engine, transmission, and differential are all assembled, ready to go in the car. But before it does, I think this is a good opportunity to put in a little sound deadening in the engine compartment. Seems like no better time than when I can actually climb in there. And I'll probably also go ahead and throw in the wiring harness while I'm at it, just to make it a little bit easier. But then the engine is going home. You know, I thought this was a lot more sorted and pretty when I put it together. But now that I see it out on the bench, man, this is a disaster. I'm gonna have to redo this at some point. Probably when we go sequential, because all this comes out anyway. All right, well, the engine's in, and I feel like it's grown about a ½ inch from when I pulled it out. I don't know why, but it was way harder to put it in this time than it was to take it out. But let's get the front bolts tightened down so that way it can finally hang on its own. One thing I'm excited about getting rid of is this old seal and replacing it with a new one, because the old one was all cracked up. And this is just pretty. Okay, wow, that was harder than I was expecting. But got the seal all in. Now I just need to finish painting up the rest of the engine tins and go ahead and throw those in place. And then honestly, it's just putting everything back together. Well, the engine compartment is all put back together. There really is only one thing left to do before we can actually fire this thing up, and that is to put a battery back in it. Now, as we saw, there's no more battery tray down there. So what I've decided to do is relocate the battery all the way to the front. So I picked up an Optima yellow top. It's a 51R, and these are commonly found in, like, you know, a Miata or a Honda, something like that. But it's 450 cold cranking amps, I think. Yeah, 450 cold cranking amps should be plenty to start this little Corvair. And where we're gonna put this thing, I think, is gonna be like right here. I've seen another car that was done that way and it looked like it fit pretty well. Hopefully it won't interfere with the trunk space too much. But in order to put it there, we've got to make a battery tray. We've got to run some battery cable all the way up to the front, figure out a ground system. There's a lot of work that needs to get done, and I am anxious to get this thing cranked up and back on the road. And just so you know, I was not able to find a set of 66 outer yokes. So I reached out to my buddy Barry. He grabbed me a 65. We've got it back on the car. So the whole thing is back together. So if you've got a set of 66 and up yokes that you are not using, shoot me an email and I would love to pick them up from you. All right, now I just need to make a battery hold down, run the positive wire, a ground, and then I think we're ready to fire it up. And for the power wire, I've picked up something maybe a little aggressive, maybe a little overkill, but let's face it, what about this car isn't? I picked up some 2.0 solid copper battery cable, and this stuff should handle anything. There should be zero loss all the way from the front to the back. We've got our terminals, we've got a crimper, we've got some rubber clamps to hold it all the way in. Now we just have to figure out a place to run the battery cable all the way back up to the front. So looking at the car, there's two ways that I can see we can run the cable. There's the easy way, AKA the way that I want to run it, and then there is the hard way or the better way. So let me show you what both of our options are. So the easy way would be to run it right along the side of this support, the rocker support that we welded in, and run it all the way down the car. The problem with that is that it's now exposed to the atmosphere, and I really don't want to do that. You know, if it gets rain, rocks, things like that, you know, it just puts it at risk. The harder way, and ultimately what we're gonna probably do, is to run it through the tunnel. But that poses some problems of itself, but we're gonna do it right the first time and run it through the tunnel. So let me get this cover off. So here's my thought process on running the positive cable. I want to come from the battery, come up and over the arch, and then down somewhere about here. From that hole, we'll run all the way down next to the fuel tank, and then run all the way down the inside tunnel. Then we can go up and over to the starter. I have to say, one thing that I have just been absolutely loving doing lately is making custom grommets out of TPU on the 3D printer. You know, this is something that may not seem like such a big deal, but to me, this is magic. So I can just print up a grommet that I want that's a little custom, that's built just for the Corvair. It's amazing. Up front, I notched the metal around the clutch pulley, and this is all going to go away at some point. And then just put in a little brace right here to keep this thing from collapsing down into the metal. Comes across, comes out of the tunnel into this little bulkhead. Out of the bulkhead, going straight up into the trunk area where it will go to the battery. Well, unfortunately, my battery terminals haven't shown up yet, so this is as far as I can take it until at least Monday, when everything shows up, so a few days from now. But in the meantime, I've been working on something that I've been keeping a secret from y'all. Now, our channel members have seen pictures, but I'm gonna show you all for the first time. Besides working on grommets, I've also been working on modeling and 3D printing polyurethane bushings for the Corvair. Now, I know what you're gonna think. Are these gonna be strong enough? And the answer is absolutely. These are Shore 95A hard polyurethane bushings that people have been using for years without any issues whatsoever. They're chemical resistant, they are tough as nails, and I can print them in a few hours. So I'm gonna throw these on and see how well they work, because frankly, the rubber ones that I've got on the car right now are about a year old and they are garbage. So they are already starting to wear out. So let me see. Worst case scenario, they fall apart and I put the rubber ones back in. Well, so far it looks like it's going to work okay. I'm excited to give these things a try. Let me knock out the other side and then we're pretty much done. Look how loose these things are. These are basically not doing anything. What I think I want to do is come down right about here, drill a hole and put a carriage bolt through on this side, and then that'll stick out on the other side about 1 inch, and then I can just sleeve this so it's all the way through, nice and strong, and then I can put a nut on the other side, and then I'll have a stud where I can hook up the ground cable. That'll basically make the entire chassis a really good ground, and then back in the back I can put a really nice solid power cable or ground cable from the chassis to the engine. So there's a lot of tools that I would love to have, and one of them is a lathe. And unfortunately, I don't have one. I don't have the room for one, but we're going to try and make do with maybe a little redneck engineering to try and turn down that square head on the inside of the carriage bolt to something round. This is my thought. If I spin the drill and then take a cutoff saw at the same time, I wonder if I can turn this down. It doesn't need much, but we're going to try. Okay, it's actually kind of working. Well, I know this is not the right way, but that actually worked pretty well. Like I said, I know it's not the right way to do it, but I'm kind of impressed. Well, my negative cable that was ordered twice from Amazon for being the wrong ones have twice showed up being the wrong ones. So instead of having a black ground, we're just going to have a red ground and put some black wire loom over it for right now, because this car has got to get back on the road. We are just a couple of weeks away from Springfest, and I really need to take this thing and honestly make sure it's going to run. Okay, here is the ultimate test. Is this going to work, or are we going to have like a dead short? So far, so good. So I just received the last piece in order to fire up the flooded Corvair from Steve Morton at Morton's Classic Garage and Corvair Parts. So thank you, Steve. We've got the 12 plate oil cooler cover. Got it painted up. Let's throw it on and then see if this was all for naught or if it's going to fire right up. Well, I've cleaned up a little bit, checked the oil, all the fluids are good, battery's connected. I think it's time we go ahead and fire this old girl up. New engine, new transmission, new differential, new shifter, new battery location, new bushings in the front end. What could go wrong? Let's turn the key and see what happens. Oh my gosh, it just fired right up, just like nothing happened. valves aren't even that loud. So I'm gonna let this thing run for a little while, just make sure everything is working. Then we're gonna go take it for a test drive. Well, I've got the laptop all fired up. It's been a long time since we've been in the cockpit of this car, but let's go take it for a quick drive. Well, it went into reverse. The clutch seems to be working. Oh man, I am so nervous. It's been a long time. Yeah, the clutch is a lot lighter. All right. First drive. Okay, shifted into second. It's a little notchy going into second, but it went into second. A little notchy going into third. Okay. Easy going into fourth. So it goes into all gears. So all 4 gears forward goes into reverse. So the transmission's working. Doesn't feel perfect, but I'm hoping that's just new synchros. So already I noticed some things that I really like and that I'm not happy with. Let's start with the things that I like. It's a lot quieter in the car. The original differential and transmission bearings, I think, were just shot. And so it's a lot less whiny in the car. Things that I'm not happy about so far. I'm having a hard time getting into third gear. I'm hopeful that it's just either a shifter issue, like something's out of adjustment, or that I put a little bit too much limited slip additive in the differential, and it's preventing the synchros from working. So I can get it into third, but it's not easy yet. But overall, man, it feels good to be back on the road again. So after driving the car a little bit more, the transmission's loosened up a ton. I can get into third and fourth gear without any problems at all. I do still think I have a shifter issue because I have to kind of shift over to the right a little bit more than I think I should, and then come back just a little bit to drop it into fourth. Not a big deal. It's nothing that's going to stop us from going to Corvair Spring Fest, which is where you're going to see us next. We are headed out on Friday, kind of midday, so we'll be there about half the day Friday, most of the day Saturday. So if you're in the Helen, Georgia area on the 17th and 18th of April, please come by and see us. I'd love to get the chance to meet you, talk to you, show you the flooded Corvair, and see all the work that we put into it over the last few months. There is still a little bit of work that needs to get done. The differential makes the tiniest little whine at just light throttle, really only at interstate speeds. It may be something that I can adjust while it's in the car, but I'm not going to worry about it at all right now. I'm glad to have the Corvair done because I've got a huge, physically huge new project coming up for the channel that I can't wait to show you. Thank you all so much for all your love and support on this channel, for helping us to bring this classic back to life. So thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. God bless, and we will see you very soon.